Hi, Mark.
Hey, Deb.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing great. Arjay's on his way. He was having some technical difficulties, but I'm thinking people are going to be eager to have some, ask a few questions. And for him to come back into the studio. Okay, let's see. I do have a question for you.
Sure.
Let me put it up on the screen. Okay. Can you see that?
I can. Uh, I think that as far as people burning records having
Okay.
points,
And can you
uh, what was that, Deb?
Yeah, I was going to ask if you could see it well enough to read it and answer the question.
Okay, yeah, I can read the
So go
question.
ahead.
It says Mark said that people who burn records had a point. Do you think then that people currently burning books also have a point? I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to, which books are being burnt, but I suppose that would just depend on what the content of the books are and their reason for doing such a thing.
Right, right. Okay, thank you for answering that. And we have a good friend of ours saying hello. Hi, Tim.
Hey,
Glad you're
Tim.
here with us. And I believe that RJ is in the studio, so let's see if we can add him. And I'll remove myself. There he is.
Hi.
Right here.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to Mystical Awakenings Radio. I'm having a little trouble with my stuff here, but I think we're on track now. I hope you enjoyed that pre-recorded video that we did. Uh, I want to give a big shout out to Sean Soper, who filmed that and did all the editing and the graphics on it, design. If you want to contact him, you can contact him on his website, soper.design, or you can check him out on Facebook on Soper Graphic Design. Hang in there because I got a little echo going, so I'm going to close this door. So, hi, everybody. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great. How are you, RJ?
Good. Can everybody hear us okay? Let's see if I can get the chat up here. Yeah, let's do this. All right. That's better. Anyway, here we are. Our guest is Mark Jager. And his concept of Starboard Quest is simply amazing. He's an author, a spiritual, scientific musician who's trying to take music to a different level. And we became friends a few years ago. And is like I said in the videos, I found out more about this guy. It was just amazing. So, Mark, how can people get a hold of your music and your books? We want to get that out there now.
Okay. Well, first of all, any electronic media that you have, whether it be Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, Pandora, I'm on all the electronic media. Just look up Starboard Quest. And then there's a website, starboardquest.com. There's, if you want to email me, I'm starboardquest@gmail.com. There's videos on YouTube. There's a YouTube channel. There's any number of ways you can look a little bit more into the music if you'd like.
Oh, that's cool. Now, like I said, this guy, he does more than that. He's an author, and most of you might know him, at least in Michigan, because there's probably not a town that you can go into that doesn't have his other books. And they're called the Mystic Michigan books. You probably have heard of them. Let's see if I can get them up there. And how many books do you have these, Mark?
There's 7 Mystic Michigan books. There's a Mystic Michigander. There's 2 Cryptic Michigan books, the Telltale Earth, and the Hidden Hand. So there's around a dozen.
And you started that back in what, 1995, I believe?
Yeah, in 1995, the first Mystic Michigan book was written.
Now, this had to take a lot of research. I mean, because if you guys are into the paranormal, the UFOs, the cryptic, ancient sites, these books have it all. And if you're in Michigan, you can just pick one of these books and go to these sites and have fun with them. People come into our store, I say, hey, if you got nothing to do, grab one of these books, go look them up. So what got you started in that, Mark?
In the Mystic Michigan, or?
Yeah, Mystic Michigan. And we'll get back to the Starboard Quest in a minute.
Okay. On Mystic Michigan, back in the 90s, I was a stringer for quite a few different newspapers. And one summer, I made a guide for one of the papers. And it went across so well, one of the editors there at the paper said, you should put this in a book. And so I did. And they just took off, and I've been at it ever since.
Nice. And like I said, it must take a lot of time, a lot of research. But like I said, it's got a lot of cool information in it. And sorry, I just got a text here. And they're fun to read. I remember when I got my first one, the first edition, it was for Christmas. And I was all in. And I expected one every Christmas. I wanted those books. And as I got out and traveled around, I found them at stores and I started buying them. And believe it or not, even before I knew you, the first one I had was autographed by you. So if you guys get a chance to check these out, man, they're really cool. And you'll look at Michigan in a different way. And we got Aaron here. Good evening, Mr. Jager. Your video and your music is absolutely fascinating. I'd love to know if people use it with the energy healing modalities like Reiki, and what their experience has been using the two together, such as wonderful grounding energy.
Oh, hello, Aaron. I don't know. To tell you the truth, I hear from different people around. Nobody's ever actually told me that they're using it for that. But I guess they might very well be doing that. I'm not sure. If they are, I know nothing of it.
Right. Oh, sure. It's like anything. I mean, when we do healing here at the store, I mean, we put on music, and it definitely can be used for that, for sure. Like the song we just played, and I think it came through, right? The Deep Calls to Deep. All his music, if you saw the video, you can see all the energy that goes into it. What's involved. It's not like somebody just sits down and plays guitar and starts singing. We were talking about that earlier, Mark. There's a lot that goes into this music. And I encourage you to go to his website and listen to this music. And do you explain on there that some of the stuff that you do in the music on your website?
Yeah, there's a whole section on the website, and it's called the liner note section. And you can go in there and it'll show you the different components and elements that go into the compositions.
Right. And again, this is to, we're trying to point out here that his music and like those music clips that we ran, those other people, there are people out there really striving to bring music to a different level. And you and I talked about that it's something that's coming, but it also might be something that's already there that we are rediscovering, right?
Yeah, if you look back at some of the old conceptions of the ancients, they believed that all of reality was a musical instrument. Everything at the different levels was vibrating in a different way, and each was a note on the scale.
Right. And here's his video or his CD. You want to check that out?
Here, go this way. There.
Starboard Quest. So you being a musician, you've had the chance to come across some pretty cool people that are in the music business. And I think our audience will recognize these people. You had conversations with Paul McCartney and Daryl Jones, the bass player of the Stones, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, if you want to hear an excerpt of the McCartney conversation in which I spoke to him about music from dreams and the spirit world, you can just go on YouTube or go into the Facebook page for Starboard Quest and just type in on YouTube, Mark Jager asked Paul McCartney questions. And you'll be able to see some of that. As far as Daryl Jones, we talked a little bit, believe it or not, about a place called Idlewild over by Baldwin, Michigan, which used to be a black performance area where a lot of the great black musicians would come and perform back, years ago.
Right.
And I've talked to others here a while back. Had a little bit of contact with Chris Martin from Coldplay, and sent him to the website, in which I talk a lot about Music of the Spheres on the website. So about a year later or whatever after this, I don't know how far afterwards, Coldplay came out with their latest album, and it's called Music of the Spheres. So I don't know if if he is influenced by that or what.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting if he was. I can't say that that's where he came up with the idea, but it was kind of interesting to me. And there's others.
Yeah. Me too. Erin wants to know again how she can get your Starboard Quest CD.
Well, you can maybe buy one from Arjay. Actually, everything's online. If you have Spotify or iTunes or Pandora or Deezer or any of those electronic media, you can listen to them on your phone. You can go to YouTube. Go to YouTube and just put in Starboard Quest. I know if CDs aren't a big medium these days, as far as that's not how most people listen to their music. You can order one from us even if you want, but
right.
I just recommend going online because the quality is pretty good, especially if you have headphones. Wear headphones and turn it up a bit.
Yeah, so Aaron, you can go to the Starboard Quest website, and all of his songs are on there, and listen to them. But if you want a CD, you can still get one of those too. But yeah, very nice. So I'm also a musician. I should say. When I was in 4th grade, I started taking piano lessons. In 5th and 6th grade, I played flute in the band at elementary. In 6th grade, I took guitar lessons. In the 7th grade, I wanted to play drums. I got my first little drum set. And in 8th grade, where I was in my first band. And then in high school, I got tired of the drums and took up the bass and started writing music and got with some people and got some more people. And I really, I worked my butt off trying to make it in music. But unfortunately, it was during the late 70s when music was changing into disco and things like that. So I just gave in and played in bar bands during the 80s, and then wanted to get back into writing music. So I bought a bunch of equipment, starting about 1990. I was working with my brother, and finally, I just got discouraged with the whole thing. I guess I do miss it, but it wasn't spiritual enough for me, Mark. I wanted to write some spiritual music like you do, and that's why I really admire that you're doing this and carrying this on, because it just makes me feel good that people are still trying to find a higher vibration in music. And but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, right?
Definitely.
A lot of work.
You see, a lot of the musicians today have the attitude of just wing it, just play whatever you feel. And I can certainly understand that. But if you go back and you look at Bach and Beethoven and some of these composers from times past, they wouldn't just wing it. They were really thinking these things out and really placing a lot of components in the music that were quite extraordinary. And I
Right.
think that there's a place in the modern day to go back to that some that type of thinking.
Hmm. Yeah. We were talking about it gets frustrating to. It's tough to be a musician and to get your point across, for sure, especially in these times. But like I said, I admire you for doing that, and that's why I support you. It just pleases me that people are doing that, but like Tom Wall and Shepard that we saw in the video. So, uh, when did you start playing music, Mark?
I believe I might have started when I was 13 or 14 years old, and then I started recording when I was 15 and was getting stuff on the radio by the time I was 17.
Oh wow,
So it's been quite a while.
yeah. So Aaron says I always use specific frequencies during my sessions, and his music would be such an awesome addition. Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, feel free.
Sean Soper, an idea for Starboard Quest to create music for healing, possibly releasing music without vocals.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. In fact, Sean actually was the one that come up with the idea to just have like some instrumental stuff. And then, you didn't see all of the video of the song that was playing there because we had to go right into this, but he had the idea to go back through and put on the screen all of the different elements that are going into music, to show exactly what are in these compositions. And you can go online, in fact, to go to the YouTube channel or just put in Starboard Quest and then put in Deep Calls to Deep with liner notes. That's one of the videos. And you'll be able to see, I think what got cut off earlier that we weren't able to see. But yeah, that's a great idea. And Sean originally come up with that as well.
right. I started enjoying New Age music in the '90s, and I play it at the store here all the time. But I'm a kind of a lyric vocal guy, and I always find myself coming up with lyrics to this instrumental stuff, and I feel that's what is missing. So it's dependent whose it is, who likes it, and what you like to listen to. But I just it's hard for me, Mark, to have music without vocals, and because you're expressing what you say, and you know what I'm talking about, right?
Well, you know what? It's really interesting that you're saying this because I'm thinking of a quote by Plato, the Greek philosopher. And in this quote, Plato was quoted as saying that the highest form of music that there is, at least as far as like on this planet, is music that is perceived by the mind only. And when you're talking about, coming up with lyrics and ideas for music and this and that, I think a lot of people have probably noticed that within their own minds, they can just come up with completely great things. And sometimes when you go from the mental aspects of music and then you try to actually record it and capture what you have in your mind on tape, it's very difficult to, if you understand what I'm saying, to capture the essence of what's within and actually capture on audio. That's a different story completely. So I can kind of see what he meant when he said that, the highest form of music there is music performed music perceived by the mind only.
Right. I wanted to thank Jack Mercer for joining us. He was on a little earlier in the bottom there. How you doing, Jack? Good friend of ours. Yeah, Aaron says, "Don't you love the universe?" Yeah, it's amazing. The universe is singing. I mean, everything, like you said, is emitting sound and frequency, and it has sound to it. And
yeah, in fact, if you go to the book and you look up some of the charts of Johannes Kepler, the great astronomer, he had our whole solar system laid out as an actual orchestra. He had the biggest planets like Jupiter and Saturn, he called the bass instruments. I believe he had Earth and Mars as tenors, no, maybe it was Venus and Mars. Anyways, Earth was like a soprano, I believe it actually was, and then he had Venus as the alto. So it's really great that they were recognizing this thousands of years ago. In fact, even before that, it goes back to Pythagoras and the Egyptians, and there's legends that the Egyptians even received some of their musical ideas from Hermes Trismegistus.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and we were talking about that book in the video, your book, by the way, Starboard Quest, and we only touched about a fourth of that book. What's in that book? There's a lot of great information, and if you're just interested in music, it gives a great history of how music started in our time. But if you're a musician, I call it a must read. And also, if anybody out there teaches music is listening to this program, I would recommend that you actually get the book and use it as a teaching tool in classes. So it's that good. It's the information and it's amazing, and it's also a very easy read book. The way you put it out there, and I just think it's a must read for all musicians and everybody really, but especially musicians and people who enjoy music, and it can be used in a educational curriculum program. So do you agree?
I believe that some of the concepts took a very long time to understand, but once Sean Soper, who helped me lay out the book and created the graphs, once he got that work done, it took these very complex concepts and just condensed them into a form that probably a child could understand.
Right. So where are you heading now, Mark? What are you got any plans for, you're still writing music, right?
Yeah, we're in the middle of working on something right now. We're just kind of like taking a break from it, but hopefully we'll continue to implement some more of these ideas and these elements into these compositions and kind of try to expand the possibilities in people's minds of how much more is possible with music than what we're doing right now in the world. I mean, you stop and think about it, probably for the last 50 or 60 years, for a lot of the music, we've had, lead guitar, bass guitar, rhythm guitar. And as far as the types of drums, you got the snare, the toms, the bass drums, but there's so many different types of percussion. There's so many different types of instruments that could be used that a large majority of the music haven't been used. And so it's gotten to the point where a lot of the stuff sounds the same,
Right.
Breaking into the Pythagorean tuning rather than the tuning that most of the music that we've known is done in is a big thing. And that's becoming more prominent. But I think that we need to head back more towards the ideas that the Chinese had, that, they had this idea that any music that was not composed with a direct connection to the mathematics of the universe was not really ideal. So I think that people could move back to that idea. How can we connect more with our music to the mathematics of the planetary spheres? And that's what we try to do.
Yeah. And in order to do that, we have to raise our vibrations. We have to realize it's there first and be aware of it. And that's what you're trying to do, that people like you and Tom, and trying to make people aware that, we can connect to these sounds and they're there. And if we have to do it with instruments, maybe that's the way to do it, but I mean, as far as, electronics and things, but someday the hope is that we can actually hear it, right, with our own ears.
Well, Pythagoras is said to have been able to hear music that nobody else could hear.
Yeah.
That it was just out there, and he attuned himself to it. And at times, I think possibly he could be right in the same room as others, and he could hear it, and they couldn't. So that's pretty fascinating. And in the Hebrew literature as well, it is mentioned by some. I don't know how true this is, but I think even some of the different biblical characters I said to have been able to hear that.
Right.
So it's just really interesting to think of it. And I think, you talk about this instrument. I think that their idea of the whole universe of all existence being a musical instrument, that thing is already all set up. It's already there. And it's not as if we're concentrating on this and it's something that we're trying to see brought into manifestation as far as creating it. I think that it's already there, but
we just have to connect to it.
An individual's consciousness that it is there. Like the whole structure is there. It's already set up. It's already happening. It's already playing. We just need to come into harmony with it.
Right. Yeah, we gotta get on the same frequencies and raise our vibrations. And once we do that, we connect with it. We'll be like Pythagoras, can hear it, right? So, excuse me. Now those glasses you're wearing, I got to ask you about those.
Yeah, they're not sunglasses.
They're not sunglasses, are they?
No.
What are they?
Well, you see, Pythagoras not only believed that just that music could be healing, he also believed that there were certain frequencies of light that were healing. And these glasses that I have on right now are called chromotherapy spectacles. They're Starboard Quest chromotherapy spectacles. And, different waves of light come in, strike your retinas, and our different colors are supposed to be beneficial for different things. And what we've done is we have some examples in the book of how you can take the compositions, and we've paired them up with different chromotherapy spectacles, like different light waves as well to be taking into your being, as well as the music itself. There's Starboard Quest essential oils, so they're all part of the composition too. It's not just audio, it's visual, it's light, it's every essential oil has a frequency. So we're trying to pair all of these things and bring it into one composition, one orchestra, so to speak.
Nice. What are some of the oils you use?
Oh, well, for example, you can look this up if you'd like to. They recently did a study, and as far as the scent of frankincense, they have found that this is an actual scientific study. They found that frankincense, when you breathe that in, it actually opens up certain parts of the mind that usually aren't open.
Right.
So the idea is if you have a mind-expanding piece of music that's all done in the Pythagorean tuning, and they're all done, let's say they're at 216 beats per minute, some of them, which is 1/2 of 432. You've got lengths that are a certain length. Some of them are actually 4 minutes and 32 seconds long. You have all these different elements going in. You've got pulsars recorded by NASA, actual rhythms from space. You have the human heartbeat. You have, and maybe one of the nature pieces, you've got the drumming of a bearded woodpecker. I think we covered that earlier in the last segment, but there's just so many things that can be done.
Right.
And once again, going back to the idea of the composers at one time actually putting more into these compositions rather than just winging it, letting it be whatever it's going to be. There are purposeful, intentional. You can make compositions with intention,
Right.
Intentionally put microcosms within them that connect with the universe.
So when did you start recording the first songs of Starboard Quest? I mean, when the ideas start with you?
Well, Dave Milanich was the producer on some of the first songs, and then Mark Cooper came in. So we've been at it a few years now, and some of the songs have been on, electronic media for a couple of years, but it's just kind of been in the last few months that we're kind of getting enough accumulated for people to have a substantial amount of stuff to listen to. So there's we've gotten some radio airplay. You know, I'm kind of hoping it expands out more. You know, but
Right.
I realize that this type of stuff is for a very, you know, niche audience. You know, it's not like your typical stuff. It's none of it's like dance tunes or pop music or anything like that. It's a type of music that's more designed for the contemplative type.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't written to, like you said, for entertainment. It's written for spiritual and scientific understanding and revelation. And like I said, if you go to his website and you can see all the stuff that was put into it. Yeah, like Deb says, how can we raise use music to raise our vibrations? And I think you're doing that.
Well, I'll give you an example. In one of our pieces of music, and I mentioned it early, called the Symphony of Sonic Ascent. Okay, we started out, and of course everything's in the Pythagorean tuning to begin with, but then the underwater part of the composition just so happened to be that Dave started recording that. I believe it was like in February, somewhere, you know, between Pisces and Aquarius, and of course Pisces is a water sign, right? Aquarius is a air sign, but isn't it? I think I have that right. But anyways, we found that the different sections were kind of correlating with what time of year they were recording. So in this thing, Dave put frequencies in that are supposed to correlate with both of the different. I'm getting a sign in here that says my battery's running low, so I hope you don't lose me. But so that kind of distracted me there a minute.
Let me go check on that, okay?
Yeah, sure.
So you keep talking. I'll check on that.
So as far as raising the vibrations, we put in there, Dave put into these things different frequencies that were supposed to correlate 3 different frequencies for each chakra. And as you're rising up from the bottom of the ocean in the composition and going higher and higher, he kept raising the frequencies to match each of the frequencies that are supposed to correlate to each of the chakras. And when you get to the heaven part of the composition, he had the crown chakra frequencies within the composition. So there's probably quite a few things to do, and I guess experiments are going to kind of show us what more to do. Anyways, we're looking for did you get it figured out?
I hope so.
Okay. It doesn't say that it's running low on a battery now. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just hope I'm in the right. Okay.
It went off of there.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that remains to be known. That's just going to have to be something that a number of experiments will bring the answer to.
Hello, Beth. How you doing? Good to have you on. We got Christy. We got some people on here. Thanks for joining us tonight. Brenda. Of course, Sean joined us. Gary. How you doing, Gary? Gary Davis? Yeah. Thanks for joining us. So I'm curious, when you went into the studio, how long did it take? Was it a long process, or did it come together really smooth? Or
Well, there was quite a delay with the Symphony of Sonic Ascent. That's got a lot of stuff in there. And I believe just that one recording took 9 months to get everything into. When you're trying to do a lot of these different things, you can't really just wing it. Like when you're doing intentional things, like putting different frequencies and such in, and we got a lot of natural sounds in there. Everything's according to a certain timing. You got different rhythms and stuff like that from natural sources. They ought to be placed in there. So yeah, it's quite time consuming. And I'd say probably for the 12 songs that are on the CD that you have, and they're online too, it took probably 3 years to get 12 songs together.
Oh, wow.
Not like you're just sitting down with a bunch of people and you're just winging it and whatever comes out, comes out.
Right.
These are very intentionally done pieces.
So I'm curious, of course you worked with other musicians in the studio. Did they kind of give you the look that one guy gave Bach and what the heck are you trying to do here?
Well, sometimes when we were working on stuff early on, I guess I hadn't really given, the vision of what I seen going into these things to people. Right. And I'd get questions like, well, why does that, what are you doing? Why does that have to go on there? Like, why do we have to be so meticulous and tedious about this? I mean, not understanding the process, sometimes, there'd be a boredom and questioning, why are you going to this extent to put all of these different elements in here? So there was a little bit of frustration in that way, in those regards.
Well, it's pretty complex stuff. I mean, maybe not to you, but there was a lot that went into it. And, you're adding cicadas, you're adding heartbeats and pulsars. And I'm sure it took some time. And when you went into the studio, did you pretty much know what you wanted, or did you some of it kind of got made up as it went along? Well, ideas came to you.
Some of it you knew right from the beginning, and that was kind of mapped out. You have like a blueprint kind of.
Right.
But then as you progress in a creative endeavor like that, oftentimes you'll get inspired, or somebody will think of something that you didn't even think of.
Right.
And you'll take it home and listen to it. And then, sometimes you can hear entire parts, like there were times where I would listen to things and I would be hearing things into this composition, and then that they would go in later that you didn't originally hear right from the beginning. But the weirdest thing that happened was there's this song called The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. And in this song, Dave sent me home one night and he said, just listen to what's in here. So I took it home. And when I got home and I was listening to this thing, I would take a lie detector test. All right. I would have, you can, if you want to, get a sheriff down here or something and have him bring his polygraph test. I would take a polygraph test live to tell you that this is the truth. It sounds a little bit far-fetched, but I went home and I could hear what sounded like phantom voices singing on this recording that I have no knowledge of Dave putting in there. And it sounded like deep voice, the songs about the Revolutionary War and the colonial days, and there were colonial instruments used, and it's more like an epic movie soundtrack music.
Right.
And there was this one point where it sounded like these deep voiced soldiers were singing, like soldiers used to sing as they'd march off to war, like maybe like with, deep voices. There was something like that showed up on the tape, and I have no idea how it got in there.
Right.
If I really listened to it, I could probably hear it to this day.
Oh, you can still hear it in the music, huh?
I know right where it's at. You see, later there was like some choral type sounds that were purposely put in, but before that was done, I heard what sounded like deep voiced, quite a large number of deep voiced soldiers, it sounded like, kind of as if they'd sing when they were marching off to war. Well, there was one frequency put in there that was the 864 hertz. And you might want to I'm not going to go into all that, but I don't know. I just wondered, when that frequency was played, did it open up some type of a doorway?
Yeah.
Where that could come through on the tape?
Absolutely.
Bizarre, that particular song, it wasn't planned this way, but I realized later that we started recording it on George Washington's birthday.
Oh, wow.
What that year was celebrated as George Washington's birthday.
Right. Very cool. Anything else on your other songs that might have happened like that, or?
There was one incident, and it wasn't at any place where we were recording, but I had come home one night, and I was in my house, and we had a wood stove, and this particular night I was down in the living room by this wood stove, and I fell asleep on the couch. And I'm not going to go into all the details of this, but I woke up, and I was wide awake, and I was sitting in the house, and suddenly I heard emanating from nowhere, or actually it sounded like it was upstairs in the house.
Right.
It sounded like it was coming from upstairs, and it sounded like a lady singing, like an opera voice. It didn't sound anything to me like some of this stuff that, like maybe like Pythagoras or whatever, these different people said that they heard. This actually sounded somewhat ghostly. And I also heard a sound of, you ever heard it when wind would blow across the top of a pop bottle or something, like, say,
Oh yeah.
Well, it sounded like there was a number of these pop bottles or something like this sitting around. And it was like they were blowing, like something was blowing across these in harmony. And
like one of those flutes from Peru. What do they call those?
I don't know, but it was just, It was bizarre. And I sat there, and it was probably 45 minutes. The next day, and I was just sitting there. I thought, I know that I'm hearing this. Like I say, I'd take a polygraph test. You can put me on a lie detector. I wouldn't make this up.
Oh, I believe you. I
heard
sure.
this.
Yeah.
And the next day, when I talked to other people in the house, nobody had heard it. I mean, it was in like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And I was wide awake. And I was sitting up on the couch hearing this.
So we got a question from Sean Soper. It says, Mark mentioned talking to others about dreams and music. Has he had any experience with inspiration from dreams?
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, I have. Even here recently, and I know that this all sounds far-fetched. And if you go online, the conversation that I had with Paul McCartney was, I was asking him if he'd ever been inspired by music from dreams. And he said that it had happened to him. You just have to listen to the little clip on that. But even prior to that, even prior to talking to him about that, this had happened to me. And I can't really explain it. I think that it might be, I do think that there, in some instances, it's divine. I think in other instances, it may be your subconscious mind or your spirit. Just something coming up out of your own spirit or your own subconscious or whatever. And then I think sometimes it happens from the dark side as well.
Right.
So I think you just have to be careful about that type of thing. I had a time here just recently where I actually dreamt that there was, like the old vinyl records. I dreamt, I believe it was a vinyl record was playing, and as this thing played, I was hearing these tunes, and it went from one song on this record to the next, and they were structured. they were like already written songs, intelligent compositions already all laid out with bridges and changes and everything,
Oh, nice.
that I'd hear. And when I woke up from this, there is not one bit of that I could remember. I just remember it happening.
Right. Yeah, I wish I wrote my dreams down a lot more because they definitely can tell you a lot. So you are still writing music, right? You're still
Yeah, I sure am. Yeah.
got new tunes coming? Good.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait. You also said that to me one day that, it's going by so fast that it's hard to remember what you wrote, right? Because there's so much going on and it's hard to play those tunes again. But, some musicians I know when they get on stage, they don't play the one song the same way twice. So, and I was trying to tell you that's okay. Just a lot of people improvise when they're playing. Who were some of the musicians that influenced you when you grew up?
Well, I'd say that it was run of the mill. I'd like to
Yeah.
be able to say it was people like Bach and Beethoven and Mozart and all the great composers, because I think that those guys were genius. But the people that I was influenced by are probably just a lot of the same run of the mill people that everybody else out there
Yeah.
has kind of been influenced by. But I think it's time to step beyond that influence and step beyond the limitations of the different people that we grew up with, and kind of get into this sphere, get into this realm of seeing more of the whole connectedness of everything and trying to tap into this whole universal music of the spheres.
Right. I can tell you, this is honest to God truth. After I read your book, and I got in the car and I turned on my regular station that I listen to all the time, I had to turn it off because I looked at music a lot different then. It brought back, I was like, wow, this is really what it's not about. It's much more. It should be much more. And I really had a hard time listening to radio now after reading that book. So definitely had influence on me and what music could really be, and
well, you're a unique person, so once again, it's going to be a real niche audience that will be interested in this type of thing.
right.
It's not your run of the mill stuff, and you'll find almost that like a lot of people are addicted to the heavy bass and the heavy drums, where the idea of the composers from the past was percussion was just there to highlight certain areas and then maybe just disappear from the composition for a while.
Yeah.
It was used for a thing of power and change and things like that. You've got a lot of stuff now where it's just one hypnotic beat all the way from the beginning to the end. And just like I say, just a very limited type of percussion. You've always got the snare, the bass, the toms.
Yeah.
And then so much of the music is only basically using one instrument, and that's guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, there's dulcimers, there's glockenspiels.
Right.
There's all kinds of different instruments you can be using. So you got to ask yourself, why has it been so limited for probably like 5 or 6 decades now? And there's some bands that are out that have kind of played the same types of stuff for like 60 years. So, there's just so much potential that's being missed out on. There's so many different elements that could be being put into their song.
Yeah. And I've talked to you about this. I've always had this desire to record animals and use that as bass, like the thumping of a gorella's chest and a grouse flapping his wings and like his cicada like he used in crickets and bullfrogs. You use the bullfrogs in one of your songs, and you know, like you said, same old thing, same old beat. But if you can combine them all together, you could come up with a whole orchestra of sounds. And I want to do this, but I'm getting older. So, but it just shows you that music's everywhere, and we can use different things to make different music. So, I get
Yeah,
that.
it's kind of, if when you really think about it, I think there's a section in the book where, imagine going into a forest somewhere, and here, locked away in this forest, are all of these hints and elements of a song that's been here for thousands of years.
Right. And someone says, "What about the sound of that Bigfoot makes?" That can make some people sick. Well, that's been proven because they use a low hertz, like a 20 hertz, and they've proven that sound can really affect people's senses, and make them feel weird. So,
I knew a guy named Art Kappa who lived in the Thumb area. And if you read the Mystic Michigan book, he's in there. He's a Bigfoot hunter. And he claimed at one time he captured Bigfoot screaming back in the days of tape recorders. But I never did hear the recording of it. I asked him for it, and he told me he had lost it. So
let's see, we got a question here. I think it would be cool to re-explore deeper working on the composition with Arjay. Yeah, I'm trying to talk him to that. He's a busy man, so.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think it would be really cool to put a blueprint together.
Yeah.
And just take time with it and find out how could you do something like that. Have all of these different elements from the universe and nature. Because I'm telling you, there are actual tones and frequencies and melodies that the different birds and stuff make. And in one of the songs called the Song of the Morning Dove, we've got the whole melody of the thing is mostly composed of the melodies of a robin and a mourning dove. And some of the rhythm is actually the fluttering of wings, like what you were saying. And
right.
I just think that there's so much that could be done.
Yeah, I was talking about making a whole song without using an instrument, maybe some vocals, but if you ever want to do that, I'll take care of the bass and drum part of nature, and you can do the.
I didn't know that you were a drummer. I knew you were a bass player.
Yeah, so I would love to do that. Here's a question by Penny Gullett. The part about plant emitting sound waves is so cool. EMF.
Well, I'll tell you, that is absolutely amazing. And I had even heard at some point in the past that just a while back, actually, when you take two circles and they meet and it makes the little shape there.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of it right now, but okay. So you can take measurements on that. I'd have to show you the notes. It's kind of hard to explain.
Right.
You can take measurements on that, and they correlate to different musical notes. And so all of the different leaves, like different types of leaves and stuff like that form that shape like that.
Right.
When you look at that and really examine that, study the mathematics of that, they are doing different notes of the scale and making different octaves and harmonics of notes within a musical scale.
Yeah.
Even visually, even geometrically, they are. And in addition to that, like, when Tom puts the machine on there, they respond to him. He'll be sitting there playing with his guitar, and he says sometimes they can anticipate what he's going to do.
Oh, wow.
Almost as if they're reading his mind. And another thing that's really interesting about that is when he tunes his instruments to 432 hertz, which is the Pythagorean tuning, he was telling me one day that they found out when they were playing, in the 432 hertz on their instruments, that the birds and, different, creatures of nature were all in tune with that 432 hertz.
Oh, wow.
They were singing in the same in the same tuning.
I was going to ask you. I think they switched in the 20s or 30s to what hertz? What was it for? What?
Well, right now, standard concert tuning pitch is 440 hertz A note.
Why'd they do that?
Well,
Why? How'd that happen?
Well, there's a lot of people online that say that was a conspiracy.
Oh,
I haven't really looked into the whole conspiracy part of it that much, but they claim that after World War II, one of the German scientists or whatever actually was kind of behind this. All the standard concert pitch for almost all, probably every song you hear on the radio is at 440 hertz. And there are those that claim that it dulls people down. It keeps them from really, getting in tune. I haven't studied that enough to know how much truth there is to that. All I know is.
But you know what? That makes perfectly sense. I mean, that's why they did it, for sure.
Well, one thing that was really interesting that happened is early on when Dave was going with one of the bigger distributor companies in the world that electronically distributes music across the world.
Yeah.
He sent one of our songs in, and it wasn't originally going to be called Starboard Quest. It was originally going to be called Octave 432.
Mm.
And you know that company, and I won't name their name because I
because we can't really. Yeah, we can't, right?
They said, we will not distribute any of your music anywhere on any of our platforms if you have that number and the title of what you're calling yourself. So you got to ask yourself, what was it about that made them have that idea? Why was that forbidden? It just kind of seemed kind of fishy to me.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all about, they don't want us to raise our vibrations and get back to that universal tuning, and that comes directly from source. So in my opinion, that's what it's all about. So but people like you are doing that, so I appreciate it.
It's an attempt.
Yeah, it's an attempt. Exactly.
Not saying we've arrived. We're just trying to head in that direction.
Right. And I commend you for that, for sure.
But as far as the conspiracy things you're talking about, I have no idea if somebody's done it by a conspiracy or, what the reason is for it. But it seems a little bit odd to me that somebody would make such a big deal out of, we don't want anything associated with our electronic distributing company if you're going to have that number and the title of what you're calling yourself.
Jeez. I want to welcome Nikki to the show, and John Kennedy, a good friend of ours in the UP. Thanks for watching. And
hello, John.
Yeah. John is a paranormal investigator, among many things. And when you were talking earlier about, trust me, all our audience on Mystical Awakenings understand that what you're talking about is not anything far-fetched, and you don't need any lie detector test or anything like that. We're all attuned to that stuff. So it's not far-fetched. It's not science fiction. It's real. It's spiritual. So who else we got here? Anybody? We got Penny and Ruben. How you doing, Ruben? Forgot about you. He's down in Texas.
Hey, Ruben.
We got, of course, I mentioned Beth, and her husband, my brother, is, I believe, in New Mexico right now, and they are checking out some cool stuff. Yeah, we got Alexa. Who else we got here? Christy. Thanks for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. Okay, where were we? We talked about What are some of the other things you do in life? What do you? I mean, you do a lot of things. You're obviously on the road a lot, right?
Yeah, well, I like to explore different places. We recently did a couple of Mystic Michigan television shows. In fact, some of the clips that you've seen tonight were from the Mystic Michigan television shows. Mark Boardman did a great job on the videos
Right.
for the shows. But I'd like to explore. I like to look into these types of things. I like to. It's just amazing to me that, like for instance, in the Mystic Michigan books, you find there's 3 different places you can go to where your car will look like it's rolling uphill and defying gravity.
Oh wow.
There's 5 different lighting phenomenons. There's stuff out in the forest. There's stuff under the Great Lakes. There's a tree up in the Upper Peninsula where there's vibrations coming up out of the earth. They feel that there's an underground whirlpool underneath the tree that's sending vibrations up. Some people have claimed that they've been healed just by touching this tree. To me, it's amazing, as I've written the Mystic Michigan books, just all of the stuff that comes out of the woodwork, and these things are things that it's like they were left there thousands of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden here they are, and it's just, there's no end to them. It's just amazing to me. And now this whole music thing, and finding out that everything is musical, and the stars are exhibiting musical properties, and the animals are, and geometric shapes, and we live in a universe of awe. It
Right,
really is an incredible place.
Now you've got one of those machines. I forget what they call, where you put like salt on it and play different frequencies.
Yeah,
they make geometric shapes, right?
yeah.
Hi, Rhonda, how you doing?
Called a cymatics instrument.
Yes, cymatics. Yeah.
Well, it consists of a steel plate on a square box, and you take sand and you sprinkle it randomly all over and then you could run different tones of different frequencies and things through this, and it'll vibrate this plate. I'm sure a lot of you have probably seen this before, and it will turn the sand, the randomly scattered sand, into geometrical shapes. And it's amazing. If you go online, you go on our website, starboardquest.com, there's videos on there. And one of the videos is from Dr. Hans Jenny. And he talks about these cymatics instruments. And they actually, you will see, I believe it's on that video, how random sand on this plate and these tones come through. And I'm telling you, these tones shape like double-winged dragonflies perfectly.
Oh wow.
They will shape all kinds of different ferns and botanical shapes, perfect geometric shapes, and it's tones, frequencies that are taking the sand and arranging it in those patterns. And on this video, there are even places where it looks like they are like human forms almost are forming. And to me, it's just amazing that, and they figured out, they've discovered the stars are doing this. There's videos you can go to and see even online where every star is emitting a tone. And when these tones are run through the instrument, they're shaping different shapes.
Oh wow.
See, you got to remember that basically when we are eating any type of food, okay, where has that energy for the plants come from? It's come from space, right?
Right.
Through photosynthesis and stuff, they are drawing in this light, and all of these different plants come out a different shape, correct?
Yep. They
find that different shaped fruits and vegetables and such will all I think, okay, that it's not just the sunlight that they're absorbing. There's millions of stars out there, and they're all exhibiting, they're all exuding frequencies that are coming down through space. These plants, I believe, are absorbing that. And when you are eating an apple or whatever it is you're eating, you are basically absorbing into your body stellar energy.
Right.
And there's,
Right.
There's certain foods that are shaped a certain way that if you eat that food, it will help your body parts that are shaped in that exact same way. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Definitely get that.
So my question is, when you're eating that fruit or vegetable, whatever you're eating that has taken in the stellar energies, and then that helps that certain part of your body, are you simply just absorbing that stellar? Because we're made from stardust to begin with.
Right.
So, and we react in it. We're living in a sea of different types of electromagnetic energies. We've got energy around our bodies. We're not just disconnected from everything. Everything is a whole system. It's all working together. You know all about this type of thing.
Right.
So how do you, if you can now do a music that's in harmony with the stars, with nature, being played at the same frequency, at the same speeds, you're putting actual sounds from nature into the recording. Is it because every one of your body parts, is vibrating at a different frequency. You've probably heard of Royal Raymond Rife, Dr. Royal Raymond Rife. He invented the electron microscope, correct? He studied all of these different frequencies, and he discovered that every virus has a certain frequency or vibration that will destroy that virus, and it won't hurt anything else around it. Similar to the way that a singer's voice can shatter a champagne glass when it reaches the same resonance as the glass, but nothing else around it is hurt or affected. He was taking diseases and blasting them with certain frequencies that he cataloged. It was destroying the diseases and not hurting any other part of not hurting any organs or anything like this. So I think a lot of, and there are already in the medical field, they're doing different, they're using different types of,
sound therapy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that as we move on, the understanding of that is increasingly going to get greater. And, I'd probably say in the 70s or 80s or maybe in the 60s, the whole health food revolution began.
Yeah.
I think that there's a music revolution coming. I know there's already, you can go on and there's a lot of different like new age type things and things like this. But I think it's going to go beyond that. And I think that what's coming is going to tap into the wholeness of everything.
Right.
And we're going to begin to see some amazing things happen. And everything that we've known, probably from the 60s on, kind of like into the modern times, they're all kind of influenced in the same way. I think people are going to more and more realize that a lot of this stuff is dangerous and it's harmful. And this isn't to say that anybody did anything, or that most people at least didn't do anything on purpose or anything to make this way, or that they didn't really know or whatever. People were just experimenting, and a lot of people had a lot of good intentions and everything. But I think we're just going to eventually find that, just like the experiment where they took Bach or Beethoven, some of these guys that were putting more thought into what they were doing. They played, there's the old saying that they would play Bach music for plants and the plants would flourish. And then they'd play some heavy death metal or something like that for the plants. And they completely withered away and began to die.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something to it. And I think we're going to go through this process where people begin to realize more what's good within what we've done and what's bad. And they're going to be able to start extracting the bad and adding more of those good elements. And that goes back to what we were saying earlier, the graphs on the 8-level pyramid of sound, where you build, different things into these compositions, and then you kind of run through a chemistry process to eliminate the bad.
Well, Mark, we're getting to the top of the hour, and I want to thank you for being on Mystical Awakenings Radio. It was a pleasure to do that video with you. It's been a pleasure to listen to you. It's amazing information.
Thank you.
So you can see the link right there, starboardquest.com, to get his music, order his book, get into his Mystic Michigan books. And I really appreciate what you're doing. I find it fascinating, and I wish you the best of luck.
All
and
right.
I will continue to try to help you any way I can, because I believe in you, and I believe you're heading in the right direction. And a lot of people on here, Erin, she appreciates the information. Rhonda was talking about mushrooms, have a different frequency. So it's all about sound and frequency, how it's connected to the universe. Sound creates geometric shapes, which creates us. Star energy coming in. We are star energy. And I love all that. That was great, man. I appreciate your time, your effort. And I'm looking forward to moving forward and seeing what you do, and also helping you out.
Well, Sean Soper, he just created the YouTube channel. It's just in its infancy. I mean, it's just been just a short time. So anybody that would like and subscribe to that would be appreciated.
Right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. We appreciate your time, and listening to all of us, and it was great information. I hope you enjoyed it. And Mark, I will talk to you soon. And again, thank you so much. And Deb, thank you for putting up with us and doing all the tech work and helping us out. We would have not done this without you. Love you. And so until next time, be safe.
Yeah. And thank you so much, RJ and Deb. Yeah. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, our pleasure. We love you all, and good night, and see you soon. Thank you.